Welcome to Hard Talk. I'm Stephen Sackur. In some countries, the coronavirus pandemic has enhanced unity and solidarity. In others, it has exposed deep fault lines. In India, it's the poor migrant workers who've been hardest hit by the crisis, which has also seen heightened tensions between the Hindu majority and the Muslim minority. Well, my guest today is the General Secretary of the ruling Hindu nationalist BJP party, Ram Madhav. Is Prime Minister Modi stoking intercommunal tensions even in this time of national emergency? Ram Madhav in Delhi, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
Let us begin with the coronavirus situation in your country. Officials in your government have proclaimed the success of your lockdown policy, have pointed to a relatively low number of deaths, but right now we see the curve, the infection rate curve in India seems to be rising and rising alarmingly. Do you think your government has been complacent?
We are 15% of the world's population. Yet, if you look at the rate of the affected people in India, it is very low. And you are right that there is some rise in numbers recently. But if you look at the period during the tighter lockdown, that was the first 4 weeks, it was strictly under control. As we relaxed the lockdown a little bit, there is a little rise in the cases, but it is very much limited to a few areas. It is contained in that sense.
Yeah, that's what worries some of the scientists, epidemiologists in your country, that you are easing the lockdown very significantly in large parts of the country, while, to quote Brahma Mukherjee, an epidemiologist at the University of Michigan who watches India's case very closely, he said, we see no flattening of the India curve. So why ease the lockdown so significantly now?
Certain lockdown measures are very much in place even now. There are relaxations in terms of starting up some of the industries, etc. Some economic activity has been allowed to restart. But let me tell you, when we imposed the first lockdown, that was when we did not have enough preparation in terms of our healthcare facilities. But 6 to 8 weeks down the line, we are fully prepared. I can tell you today we are ready with 900,000 beds. We have hospitals, everything ready. Yet we are taking full precautions. We are quarantining people who are traveling to a few destinations. We are not lax in our precautions.
Perhaps the most worrying thing of all, Mr. Madhav, about the Indian situation is the extent to which your sudden dramatic lockdown all those weeks ago forced millions of your poorest people, migrant workers in the big cities, to head for home. Arundhati Roy, the famous Indian writer, has written, the lockdown worked like a chemical experiment that suddenly illuminated many hidden things. The urban poor were driven out by employers and landlords. Millions of impoverished, hungry, thirsty people, including the young, the old and the sick, were forced to attempt the long walk home. They are now home, the lucky ones who made it, and they are infecting other people in those parts of your country least able to deal with the pandemic.
Oh, that is a pretty exaggerated statement, I tell you. You see the lockdown that was announced on the 25th, 24th and 25th midnight was a decision taken at the right time. It was directed at safeguarding the healthcare of 1.3 billion Indians. That has certainly helped in managing this spread of the virus in a very significant way. If today I'm claiming that it is now restricted to a few pockets in the country, that was essentially because of the timely lockdown. Now, as far as the migrant workers are concerned, let me give you some information first before we decide about the impact of it. India has 130 million migrant workers. Out of that, about 80 million work in other states than their home states. It is bigger than the entire populations of countries like Germany, countries like UK. That is the size of our migrant population. Out of that, majority of them, I would say about 90% of them still stick to their places. They have not gone out. They have not undertaken this perilous journey. But yes, you are right. About 4 to 5 million people have taken to streets to try and reach their destination.
Mr. Madhav, how do you feel about the members of your own party, the ruling party, the BJP, who have specifically, explicitly blamed Muslims for spreading coronavirus?
So firstly, let me tell you, in this fight against the virus, we, the 1.3 billion people of India, are united and together, irrespective of our parties, irrespective of all the differences in the country.
No, Mr. Madhav, that's clearly not true, Mr. Madhav. You're not united. You're not united.
Contrary to it, it is wrong. We do not endorse it, nor do we ever support any such statements.
So what has happened to Kapil Mishra, for example, a local BJP leader who is known for his intemperate language, who tweeted, and this is a quote, the Tablighi Jamaat people, that is from the religious organization who held a big meeting in South Delhi at the beginning of all this. These people, he says, from the Tablighi Jamaat have begun spitting on doctors and other health workers. It is clear that the aim of these people is to infect as many people as possible with coronavirus and kill them. He has referred to coronavirus terrorists, and he means Muslims.
Yes, all such statements are wrong. We have condemned those statements. We have cautioned or warned such functionaries if they are indulging in any such statements. But I would like to make one submission. Sometimes if some people talk about Tablighi Jamaat, please don't take it that they are talking about the entire Muslim community. Within the Muslim community, there is a large section of the people in India and elsewhere who do not approve of the way Tablighi Jamaat behaved in India. But that is no reflection on Islamic society.
Mr. Madhav, I'm sure you're aware this goes far beyond.
If anybody makes any such statement, it is wrong and we condemn.
Yeah, but Mr. Madhav, what I want to know is what the BJP is doing to stop the communal violence that we have seen since the beginning of the coronavirus epidemic in your country. For example, Saeed Tabriz and his mother Zareen Taj, they are two Muslim civilians who volunteered to distribute food and emergency aid in their communities. They were attacked by a gang of BJP activists on the 4th of April in Karnataka. What have you done to punish those people who attacked the volunteers and also to ensure it never happens again?
Certainly any such act of violence will be punished. And in this specific case, our state unit, if what you are saying is true, will certainly take action. But let me tell you for information, in India, so many doctors were attacked. So many nurses were attacked. So many voluntary workers were attacked. Police officers, their arms were chopped off. Such incidents have happened during the lockdown. I am not talking in terms of which religion has done it. Whoever does such things will be punished in India. We have a very robust law and order system. As far as our party is concerned, we shall never approve of any such activities and we will act against them.
So what do you say to analysts who study your communal relations inside India very closely, like Gilles Vernier at the Ashoka University, who say the government has seized the opportunity of the lockdown and the coronavirus crisis to go after Muslim activists?
Totally baseless. As I said, as far as we are concerned, the government is concerned in this fight, we are all together. You see the ratings of the Prime Minister by independent agencies cite his popularity to be above 90%. Now, 90% is not the Hindu population in India. That means everybody, irrespective of the religion, supports the actions or the decisions that the government is taking because it's in the interest of the entire population. In India, we do not approve of or we do not see any communal kind of situation or any communal conflict happening at this juncture.
Mr. Madhav, you seem to be living in a parallel universe to many Indians, particularly Muslim Indians. Are you not aware that just last month, the BJP MP Subramaniam Swamy said Muslims, if they become anything like 30% of our population, will be a danger to the country. Muslims, he said, are not in an equal category. This is the language of pure discrimination, and it is coming from senior figures in your party.
Okay, now I have not directly seen the statement. I take it that what you are saying is true, but you be careful. If it is not true, you will be sued by Dr. Swami. Having said it, we do not, as I said, we do not approve of any such sentiments, any such statements. India is a democratic country. People make their statements, but as a party and as a government, we shall not approve of any such statements targeted at any community or any religion.
But again, I just wonder on what basis you're telling me all this stuff about harmony and unity in India today. Are you not aware that the fallout from your own government's Citizenship Amendment Act has included the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights calling that legislation, which of course is fundamental to your government's program, called it, quote, fundamentally discriminatory?
Oh, first of all, a lot of misinformation and lack of knowledge about the tax is leading people to make all sorts of judgments. Let me tell you, first of all, number one, the so-called Citizenship Amendment Act does not apply to a single Indian. Do you know that? 1.3 billion Indians, Muslims constitute 200 million out of that. The CAA does in no way affect them. So where is the question of any discrimination? Secondly, and most importantly,
it is not pure religious discrimination, Mr. Madhav. Your message to
there is no discrimination. Anybody can come and become a citizen in India.
No, your message to the world is quite clear, that you make a distinct category for Muslim people. In this case, it is a question of people who come from neighboring states into India. You give the rights to non-Muslims to a fast track to citizenship, a right which you specifically and explicitly deny to Muslims.
Oh yeah, just as Austria has done to the Jews, America has done to certain section Vietnamese refugees. If I am not wrong, even Spain has done to certain descendants of Jews of the Second World War time. Certain category of refugees, their citizenship has been just fast-tracked. Nobody is denied citizenship in India if one qualifies. For example, I tell you, at least close to 15 Pakistani citizens have acquired Indian citizenship under our government in the last 5-6 years.
Mr. Madhav,
our citizenship law doesn't discriminate.
Mr. Madhav, I don't want to misunderstand you or put words in your mouth, but when you start telling me about the way in which Germany or Austria treated the Jews...
Not Germany, I will not use the word Germany.
I begin to wonder what you're driving at. I mean, for example, I was very struck yesterday that your Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, paid fulsome tribute to one of the great ideologues, well, great in Mr. Modi's view, of the Hindutva movement, which of course your previous organization, the RSS, and your current party, the BJP, is very much a part of. Now, Mr. Modi said of V.D. Savarkar that he showed extraordinary courage and leadership. We know that Mr. Savarkar in 1939 was expressing sympathy for what the Germans were doing to the Jews and said that our Muslims in India are very much like the Jews of Germany. There are many people around the world who find this sort of ideological connection and background to the BJP and the RSS to be deeply and profoundly disturbing.
You have totally misunderstood Mr. Savarkar's philosophy. He was never against any community. He was for the greater unity of all the Indian citizens irrespective of religion. That's the reason why even when leaders like Indira Gandhi, the Congress leaders, they also have praised his patriotism, his sacrifice for the nation. He was one leader who underwent who was given a 50-year jail term by the British during the colonial rule in India. He fought for the independence. So he is one of the misunderstood leaders in India. So
you mean he's misunderstood? He's misunderstood because his sympathy for what the Nazis were doing was okay?
No,
is that what you're saying?
He was not sympathetic to Nazis at all. That is the great misinformation that is spread about him.
forgive me, but it's not just critics outside the country that are deeply disturbed by some of the ideology they hear from the RSS and BJP. Listen to the words of Mahatma Gandhi's great-grandson, Tusha Gandhi, who spoke to us. He said, the BJP and the RSS, right-wing groupings, have polarized Indian society. They present a grave danger. The danger is that in 10 years' time, this country won't be India anymore. It will be a fascist dictatorship. Those the words of Mr. Gandhi's great-grandson today.
That could be his personal opinion. Mahatma Gandhi himself had attended the RSS rally. He had praised the discipline of the RSS. He said that the work that I am doing for the uplift of the untouchables, the RSS is doing. RSS is removing the caste differences in the society. I fully appreciate your activity. This is what Mahatma Gandhi had himself said. His grandsons are many. Some of the grandsons are in our party, for your information, great-grandsons. They are in a part of the BJP today. So don't go by one statement. There are different views. That's why I said India is a democracy. We respect all the different views, but they are their personal views.
Yeah, just another point. One more quote for you from MS Golwalkar, another senior leader of your RSS organization. He wrote admiringly about what the Nazis were doing in 1939. He said, quote, to keep up the purity of the race and its culture, Germany shocked the world by purging the country of the Jews. It was national pride at its highest, said Mr. Golwalkar.
Firstly, that book, which was a translation of some other book, was disowned by Mr. Golwalkar immediately. But second thing I tell you, all that he said was it is shocking. I don't know how shocking becomes a praise. I mean, he clearly said it is shocking to see this kind of behavior in the name of nationalism. The RSS has never ever approved of the Nazi, fascist or supremacist ideology. We have always stood for the persecuted Jews. Even to this day, we believe that the persecution happened against the Jews was one of the worst crimes against humanity in the history of the 20th century.
Just one more thought on this then, and I want to move on. If you are so sure that there is not racism, deep discrimination, communal hate at the heart of your party and movement's ideology, how do you react when your own Home Minister, Amit Shah, describes migrants from Muslim-majority Bangladesh living in India as, quote, termites who will be thrown into the Bay of Bengal? It is the classic technique of othering and dehumanizing those that you regard as second class. How do you react to it yourself?
Oh, yeah, look, that particular statement was fully taken out of context.
What's the right context? Hang on. What is the right context? What is the right, you tell me, Mr. Madhav, what is the right context for calling a human being a termite?
Please explain to me how can illegal migrant be a person of any religion by your definition? You mean illegal migrants are not welcome in India. Towards that, we are taking certain measures. But some statements, sometimes they are taken out of context, which is not correct.
You think that it's justifiable to call even, albeit an illegal Muslim immigrant, a termite, an insect?
No, see, it was in the context of illegal migrants. Even all these words are taken completely out of context. That's what I'm saying. What we did or what we tried to do was to regulate the flow of refugees into India. It is done by every country, not just India. Every country regulates the influx of illegal migrants. That is precisely what we are doing, not against any humanitarian spirit or anything. We have quite a humanitarian sentiment about every person, but after all, nations have to safeguard their people, their livelihoods and their economy from illegal infiltrators.
I want to briefly, if I may, before we finish, touch on Kashmir. Last August, you revoked Article 370 of the Constitution, revoked the special status for Kashmir. You sent thousands and thousands of troops into the territory, and you arrested a large number of Kashmiri political leaders. We interviewed Shah Faisal in India, not in Kashmir. He spoke to us, I believe, from Delhi. He was arrested just hours after talking to HARDtalk. He is still in detention today. This month his detention has been extended. He is a so-called moderate leader, a civilian politician, a Kashmiri who is proud to be Kashmiri. Why on earth is he in detention today?
Many people have been detained immediately after that important decision that we took on the 5th of August to nullify the impact of Article 370. Now, most of them have been set free. Mr. Faisal and a few others, about 4 or 5 of them, still face certain charges under what we call as PSA, Public Safety Act. But I tell you, these are all measures taken based on the security assessment there, but they will also be set free very soon. As I said, hundreds of such activists have been set free. They are all free now, and Mr. Faisal's turn we want allow them to come out and continue their political activity happily.
There's no justification for it, really, is there, Mr. Madhav? Nor is there justification for the continued control of the internet. 4G services in Kashmir severely restricted, when doctors in Kashmir are saying that they need the best access possible to the internet and to public health information on the internet to deal with the coronavirus crisis. What kind of humanitarians are you in the Indian government that won't even allow doctors to use the internet in Kashmir?
I'm afraid that you should know the ground reality before jumping the gun and calling us inhuman and all that. Firstly, for doctors and all, in all hospitals, in all medical centers, we have the broadband services fully available. Internet is fully working in all the hospitals and all the public institutions. It's only on the handheld mobile devices that certain 4G speeds are not available. They also have access to 2G speeds. So calling it, anti-humanitarian or judging us as not having humanitarian is far-fetched. We should not do that. Having said it, the Kashmiri healthcare establishment is doing phenomenal job. They are taking care of the COVID patients effectively. They have all the facilities available. As I said, broadband services are fully available in every home and every public institution in Kashmir. And the 4G services also will be restored very soon.
Right now, because of coronavirus, your economy is facing contraction this year. You have rising tensions on your border, not just with Pakistan, but also now with China, where you've got a military standoff in Ladakh with Chinese forces on the disputed border. Suddenly, the BJP's program for India looks as though it's running into serious trouble. Would you agree?
Economy is a challenge not just for India, for UK and all other countries. It's a global challenge. As far as India is concerned, we have made elaborate plans to quickly come out of the impact of the pandemic. Hopefully, in 2 to 3 quarters' time, we will be able to come back to our better GDP growth rates. But having said it, the other issues, like the issues that are happening on the borders, are serious, no doubt, and the government is seized of those matters. Let me tell you, this is not the first time that these things are happening. In the past also, we have had certain tensions along the Indo-Tibetan border with China, and both countries have mature leaderships to tackle them. We are engaged diplomatically. It's true that on the ground we are firm, we are taking a firm ground posturing, but we are proactively engaged with the Chinese leadership diplomatically.
Ram Madhav, we must end there, but I thank you very much indeed for joining me from Delhi. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.